Hello again to another really cool episode of Fast Guitar Method. No more mucking around. Here's an intro. And we're back out again. Thanks for watching that. Today we're going to talk about changing strings on a nylon classical guitar. A lot of people, when they first get a guitar, this is the first one they get. And this is the actual first guitar that I ever had. This is the guitar I learned on. It was given to me for my 12th birthday. You'll notice some similarities and you'll notice some differences. Difference mainly being there's no pins or pegs for your strings. It all goes in on the bridge and it's tied up, and I'll show you how to do that and change a string in a second. Also, the headstock is a little bit different. The tuning pegs don't go out, they go through. So you've got these cool little hollow, I guess you could call them holes, because that's what they are. And the machine heads are still looking the same, but they're all it's just slight differences. Another difference you'll notice with a lot of these nylon string guitars is the neck is a whole lot fatter than a steel string 6 or an electric. And it's just the way that they're made. Flamenco players use this, classical guitar players use this. If you're using it and you want to learn how to play classical guitar, you tend to hold it like that. You know? These strings are old, man. So I am going to change one of them and show you how it's done. So I know that there's a lot of people that do have these, and this is why this needs to be done. Right. And I'm about to go into a different view. Alright, so I'm doing this one a little bit differently, so I'm not going to really be in it, but if you get your classical nylon string guitar string, you'll notice there are a few differences. And the main difference really is there's no ball on the end for you to put it in. You've got two ends, and as you unroll it, unravel it, however you wish to say it, you'll notice it's kind of like plasticky in a way, as in it's kind of pliable. You can, you know, it sort of retains a bit of that shape that it's got. Now some of the strings will have, so this one is pretty cool because you've got two relatively stiff ends. Some of them will have a little loop that pops over the top, and the other one may be stiff, or they both might have a little loop of the nylon fabric underneath. It doesn't make a difference really. Okay, so when you've unraveled your string, I like to give it a little bit of a pull through, just to straighten out the little bit, the curves and whatnot are in it. Now I prefer to go with a hard end into the bridge. Now you'll notice that there, as I've said before, there's no pins, there's no pegs to chuck it into. So there will be a little hole that you can feed the string into through the bridge. Feed that through the bridge. Give it enough length so that you can give it a couple of loops over. I like to go for around about 5 to 10 centimeters. You know, if you want to do a little bit more, that's just restricting how much extra string you have at the end, which will go into your headstock. So just be wary of that. You know, not too much. Around about, you know, what's that there? You know, 4. If you get your 4 fingers there, that should be more than enough length to get it in. So what you have to do is you grab it and you loop it around one end here, and then you give it a little bit of a tighten. Not too much, because you need to have some underneath here, some length under there, so you can thread it, kind of like tying up shoelaces. Underneath once, and then underneath the second time, at the very minimum, only 2, but if you want to go for 3, go for 3. So you can see it sort of winding itself around like it's like fishing wire, yeah? And that's pretty much it. Just got to have that loop around. I'll show you again. Now the good thing with these is because they don't have the ball on them, and if you get a string break, say down the end here, you can basically, if you've got enough room or you've got enough string length at the headstock, you can restring that again if you're in a bit of an emergency or you can't afford to buy a string for a bit. So yeah, again, feed it through the bridge like a bit of floss, then come around, try not to get my hand in the way, around the string like so. Keep some length underneath this part here, over the top, and back under again. And then you over the top, like that, over the top, and back under. At least twice. Go for 3 if you like, twice is good. and then give it a bit of a tighten, and it should tighten up on itself and look kind of neat and tidy like that. Okay, so we've got our bottom part on the bridge nice and tight, and what we're going to do is chuck it up into the tuning peg. Now you notice, obviously, as I've mentioned, this tuning peg goes through that way. So I do things a little bit differently when I string this up into the machine heads and the tuning pegs. So with the steel string, I was mentioning that I like to get, like the length between, say, one string and then the width of the next tuning peg and cut it off there. Now, these ones I don't like to cut off at all, because if it does end up breaking down the bottom at the bridge, you've got all this extra length here that you can basically reuse. Now, it's not the best thing to do, but it's good if you're in a bind, or you're playing a gig, or for whatever reason you can't afford them, or you just couldn't be bothered going down the shop. You can still play a guitar even if you've broken a string. That's one of the things I like about this. So anyway, cracking on. I've kind of pulled out a little bit of the string there. So you see that the wire comes out? That's what I meant by the, hopefully you can see that bit of nylon thread. That's the steel's all wound around. So anyway, chuck it in through the little hole. And what I like to do, which isn't probably the best way, but it seems to work for me, and until you find something that works better for you, or people will probably argue at this point, but I like to thread it through once and then thread it through again on itself. That just helps lock it in, and you're sort of not mucking around with anything too drastic as far as weird techniques to keep the string locked in as you're learning how to do this stuff. So yeah, just in on itself and then pull it nice and tight. And we get our good friend here, Windy Winder, and wind it up. Now, to wind it, I like to have the string wound more towards the inside of the actual headstock rather than out. Again, so it just keeps it all nice and neat, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I've just got a bit of OCD, who knows. Anyway, as I'm winding, maybe I might put this in fast forward. Yeah, winding. Sounds kind of funny. Must sound very funny. Slow down. So, you need to make sure that you're just watching this so it doesn't overlap on itself, and you're just feeding it nice and gently across. Alright, go back fast again, maybe? Winding. Ding, 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 ding. Alright, and as we're coming up, so just nicely get it in on the nut, just finish up this wind, and you'll hear it sort of, ooh, yeah. One thing to remember with nylon strings is that they stretch. It takes them a couple of days to settle into their tension, their position, to get to the tuning that you want. So you may have it perfectly in tune and be like, and then you come back an hour later, it's, yeah, what? Yeah, that's just what they're meant to do. They just do that. So don't be cranky and go running to the shop saying, hey, I got these dodgy strings. What the heck, man? And you might have heard just then how much longer it took me just to get that in tune. Give it a little bit of a stretch just to help it along the way. Don't go crazy. You break it, and you'll hear that's out of tune again. Again, as I said, just give it a couple of days for it to really settle in and it'll stay in tune. But this is one of the best guitars I've ever owned, mostly because I guess the sentimental value, but because of the learning factor on it was great. Soft strings, doesn't hurt your fingers, a wide neck, trains your fingers to get around and put your thumb at the back, and yeah, great little beginner's guitar. So if you have one of these guitars, remember, you can put a ball on the end of this. That's a cheats way of doing it. There are nylon strings that do have little balls that go in the back, but you should also learn how to do this just in case that ball breaks, so that you can get the nice little knot weave going on in there. And yeah, just try and be clean with your strings, keeps them out of the way, stops people getting poked in the eye, and it just looks nicer. Anyway, hope you learned something out of this. And if you've got any questions, queries, comments, groans, moans, complaints, write them down at the bottom. Hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for watching Fast Guitar Method. I am Ben. If you like this content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Also, leave comments, ask me questions. The more you ask me, the better content I'll have for you. So, tune in again for Fast Guitar Method. Catch you later.